Hello, today we are going to talk about a new video game genre. It is known none other than, well actually, we don't know exactly what it's called. There is no name for this genre. It can be called a survivor's light, it can be called a bullet heaven, it can be called an auto aimer. There's many names that you could call this new genre. But here we are today talking about what I will refer to as the survivor-like genre. One thing is clear about this new genre, it is pretty cool. The survivor-like genre brought to light by the mixing of roguelikes and survival games. Survival games have you pitted against random monsters, waves of monsters. It could be a variety of things that you are fighting, but the idea is that you fight them until you survive a wave. But when you blend that together with the randomness, procedurally generatedness of a roguelike, you get something unique and you get something special. The genre on the surface seems like it's all about luck. And, well, to a good point, it is. But there is some skill involved. You must decide thoughtfully and carefully what you will be choosing every time you level up. These decisions can make or break your run. If you choose correctly, you can have a very fluid and easy run. If you choose incorrectly, you will fall short just as you should. Keep in mind, part of this is random. It takes some creativity and adaptability to truly master this genre. You have to take what you have been given and make something of it. Before making this video, I logged nearly 10 hours in a little video game called Genesia. I didn't know much about the genre beforehand. I had played a little bit of this and that and was somewhat familiar with it, but I had decided to play Genesia on my own accord because I was bored one day and it seemed fun and simple to play. It takes a blend of old school retro graphics and adds a little bit of modern flair with shadows and shading that makes it look contemporary. Level up, choose cards which equal abilities and upgrades to your stats. The draw for me comes from the unlockable ability cards, which add more to the ways that you can enjoy the game and customize your play every time you boot up a new run. In a matter of months, the very small dev team has made strides, included mods, more abilities, further difficulties, more and more variety to a very simplistic gameplay. The ease of making these games could make it seem like someone's just looking for the next quick buck. Some of these games feel like somebody's trying to make the next quick buck. But alas, there are developers who take this genre and see it as a platform to express creativity, and that's what makes the good games. There are some common components in every survivor-like game. There is a large variation of enemies to start. In a good survivor-like, there could be upwards of 100 different enemy types, all with different abilities and movement styles. And even in some of the best that I've played, there can be quite simply just different sprites that move at different speeds. Slightly different abilities, but it's just fun to see something different that you're mowing down, and that's okay because the variation makes up for it. Randomization of items. It helps with your different runs every time you play. You never know the type of build you're going to go with. You can try to go for one, but you're not guaranteed that build. So the randomization forces you to try different builds and play the game in different ways. There's a ramping of difficulty. Every time you play a new round, every time you progress further, the game should increase in difficulty so you do not feel stagnated. There is a sense of progression in some of these games, which is what we all look for when we play a game. We want to be rewarded. And a key component is that there is permadeath. When you die, you start all over from square one. Every time you play the game, you start from square one. There are 4 key components that I look for when playing these games that differentiate them from each other. Number 1 would be the art style. You can get completely pixelated, looking like an 8-bit SNES game that plays like butter, or you can even get a more modern take with some stylized 3D graphics. There is a variation of ways that you could do this genre, and the art style is one of the key ways to capture somebody. somebody in any game. Number 2 would be the item variability. Some of the games have more variability than others. Yes, there are some that only have limited variability, but they make up for it in other ways. A third thing that I look for is synchronization. And when I say synchronization, I mean when you decide to choose the melee sword ability, that I can possibly get something else that benefits my melee sword ability build. Hopefully I look for a card that increases my physical damage, say, or say it increases my sword size. Who knows? But it's fun to see these builds turn out in funky, wacky ways that change the game every time you play it. Number 4 would be simply having a unique premise. Don't copy the other ones. Give us a whole new world to explore.
It's a whole new world, baby. It's a whole new world.
We've already used swords and spells. Give us a limbs and bio experiment to level up. Yeah, that's totally possible and genius, and it's been done. The simplicity in all veins of the game are what make it so approachable and easy to access. And the tiny differences that your choices make are what keep you hooked. Easy to play, but hard to master. Once you've tried all the combinations and you've become aware of the builds that are possible, then skill becomes a factor.
The fuck was that?
Your timing and every key click matters. But sometimes I do wonder, how long can a genre like this last? With the concept of gameplay being so simple, it begs to ask, how long until it becomes old news? It becomes too simple, redundant. In the end, it doesn't matter if you're still having fun. When I ask around with my coworkers who are aging gamers like myself, they all seem to enjoy something that is easily accessible. The quick response shooter is becoming harder and harder for us to play, and that's okay. If people enjoy that and are able to keep up with that and that makes them happy, let them enjoy that. The survivor-like genre is like a character in its own game, using luck, simplicity, sheer thought, randomness to duck and dodge the bigger enemies that may appear. Maybe with a little RNG, the RNG gods will let them live into eternal relevancy. Who says you need countless hours for a game you paid $5 for anyways?
I did.
Which brings me to a list of games that I paid $5 or less for. One game was $10 that have provided me with over 40 hours of gameplay in the past 2 weeks. Number 1 is Rogue Genesia. I already talked about it. Genesia, I'm not sure. I have no idea. It was my very first true dive into the genre. I was impressed with the graphics and the soundtrack. Make sure to turn that up, by the way. It incorporates a map for you to traverse through the main mode, which provides a different way to progress through the game than the others do. But playing it for the first time, I didn't get to understand how underdeveloped it truly is. It has plenty going for it, but it is an early access title. It provides plenty of variety, but could there be more? Of course, there can always be more.
There is always more.
Which brings me to Brotato. Brotato is one of the most popular games in the genre. Why? Well, it's a pretty funny concept. Mr. Potato Builder, pretty much. The game was pretty satisfying at first. You get responsive weapons. You feel the enemies punch back and move with every attack. But there are some downsides. Waves are mostly the same. No matter the difficulty, you're going to be facing the same monsters every time. Variance is limited, and unlocks are as well. The bright side comes from the variance in characters. The character you decide to start the game with can change the way you play the game. Say you only have one weapon, but it gets boosted to hell. That's fun. You only have one weapon to choose from. Choose wisely. Or maybe you can only use guns and you are holding 6 different guns in your hand. That's fun. There's a variety to be had by choosing different characters in this game, and that's fun. I still want to win with the one-armed character. The game is still very addicting, and stats showing in the selection screen is a simple quality of life help, but other games just don't do it. It's something that it gets right, it's polished, and that's probably why it's one of the most played games. Which brings me to another example of a game in the genre that looks great on the surface, but is truly lacking underneath. 20 Minutes Till Dawn. 20 Minutes Till Dawn comes off as a masterpiece at first glance. Sick aesthetic, dope music, decent twist at combat, having to click and shoot honestly feels good compared to the other games. games, an all badass chick roster. When you're choosing them, they all look cool and they all look hot. Maybe it was something in their upbringing, but something feels missing, and that thing is depth. It does everything so well, but there's like 5 ways you have to do it, and rarely is there any variance in that run. For Pete's sake, when you go to the menu, it shows you the builds that you should do. There is not much creativity involved when you're building your character, which is a friendly reminder you can do everything right, but without variety, you will get fried quickly. One game that isn't lacking in depth is Soulstone Survivors. Like 20 Minutes Till Dawn, Soulstone Survivors often requires players to use some input more than some of the other auto battlers, and it looks good while doing it, using 3D models and graphics well above some of its competitors. While the graphics are impressive, the theme seems to be kind of boring and dry. I'm not exactly sure what they're going for, but it's a generic magic and might experience. A huge positive is the amount of customizability, with different characters unlocking different abilities. Even with my gripes, it is just fun to play moment to moment with. The amount of grinding that you can do in this game is unreal. You can level up different characters to level 40 to unlock different abilities, and it just goes on and on. There's about 9 different characters. You can easily get 50 plus hours out of this game if you wanted to. Oh yeah, it has crafting too. I mean, that's kind of unique and cool.
You crafty man.
Which brings me to, you already knew it was coming. The daddy, the godfather, the big chalupa of the survival-like genre, where it gets its name from, Vampire Survivors. This game is exactly what the genre should be based off of. I'm not even sure if it was the very first one of its type. I'm sure it wasn't, but it did do the best job capitalizing on what was given. The game started it all, and you know what's funny? My first time playing it on the browser, I thought, well, that was interesting. After a quick 10-minute run through, fast forward and I'm having a breakthrough hypothesizing how this game may change gaming forever. Vampire Survivors is the defining game of the genre. The feel, the depth, the aesthetic, all of the things are present, and it rewards you handsomely. I spent the first 10 hours just playing the game, not even worried about progression, which is weird. And when I was finally ready to progress, I had to think about it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't spoon-fed to me. I had to think, well, you don't just go from level to level beating them. There was so much more than that. Unlocking weapons, then synergizing them, unlocking characters, finding secrets on top of huge maps, different bosses, different enemy types, different character types. The list goes on and on. So while yes, different maps provide progression, you'll be going back to the old ones to unlock secrets, unlock abilities, unlock things you didn't even think of in your first 10 hours of playing the game. The game already has 2 DLCs, which added even more variance to the point where I can see this game being supported for a very long time. The more I played, the more I wanted to unlock and discover secrets. And as soon as you think you've unlocked them all, the game sends you to some messed up mini level with random mechanics and animations just to find an item that unlocks 5 other secrets. I spent about 20 hours playing this game when I should have been testing others, but it's truly the apex of the bullet heaven survivor-like genre. One day I will defeat death, and that sounds like a flex. The game is pretty neat and an easy recommendation from me, even if you're not super interested in this easily accessible genre. I can guarantee you will have fun with Vampire Survivors. Shout out to the OG, man. And to wrap it up with some quick hitters, Boneraiser minions. It's pretty sick as well. Personal favorite from the less polished in the genre. You spawn AI minions that do most of the attacking for you. They're pretty cute and pretty well varied as well. Added depth with castable spells and pre-placed towers you can spawn on the map, and lots of charm. The game doesn't take itself too seriously. Tons of boner jokes.
Drain boner.
There's definitely enough depth to warrant a purchase in this one. The game will keep you returning until you've simply evolved all of your minions and seen how they can fuse and join together into bigger and badder minions. And it's cute because I follow you everywhere on the map and destroy the baddies for you. And lastly, they're already having movie tie-ins for the genre. Renfield, which the movie was okay. I'm a big vampire guy, which probably explains why I'm making this video in the first place. The movie was okay. Whatever, right?
Not okay.
They have a whole entire game of the survival-like genre based on the movie Renfield, and it is pretty accurate to the movie. It uses a lot of the set pieces that they use in the movie as abilities. Enemies that you see in the movie are enemies in the game, and that just shows that people are spending money on this genre. Imagine a Marvel version, or even like a elemental animal spawning version. I don't know, is that lame? It sounds cool to me. All in all, I've paid about $30 for all the games I've mentioned so far, and I've gotten about 40 hours out of them. As an enthusiast gamer turned casual, I feel like I found enjoyment again. I can have a drink, boot up the gaming rig, and enjoy without feeling overwhelmed. And that's hard to achieve for me nowadays. Maybe gaming has just been really bad lately, but I digress. The survival-like genre and roguelikes have the potential to be like craft beers of the gaming world. Easy to find, tons of different flavors. The more you indulge, the stronger you get. Well, maybe not that part. But do you remember enjoying like Call of Duty Zombies or Gears of War Horde mode? Survivor likes are like if you were a wizard in that shit with 100 different spells to cast and you don't know which ones to choose. There's so many to choose from until you do know which ones to choose. And that's when the survival like starts to run dry. Half of the fun is in the mystery and testing the abilities, the cool combinations you can come up with.
Oh my god. I don't know if you could hear me out there, but I call this build the rainbow screen of death.
But once you figure out they don't work, the variability starts to become thinner.
I got a thin
Gameplay loop.
Keep it down.
I think the potential for creativity is boundless and has barely been tapped, like me in high school. Vampire Survivors put the genre on the map and laid the blueprint. I see AAA knockoffs for $20 in the future. Shit, you can get 40 hours out of a $5 game? Why wouldn't a AAA studio invest in this and make a game for $20 if it does it right? And that's good because there was still downfalls with the genre. I'd say 75% of the games get stale quick using the same formulas. You try the powers, you see the enemies, and that's it. You're over it. I've played them, I've done it. It happens. Most of the time you experience everything you need to within the first 2 hours of playing the game. Most of the time these games are also only created by like 2 people, but let's be fair. To really see the continuation of the genre, it is necessary for developers to really make such simple gameplay branch out with deeper variety and progression, in the same way that Vampire Survivors did. In the end, the survivor-like genre has just been given its feet. With such a banger start, there's surely more to come. I can see a future where the genre expands to even say have PvP elements. Imagine Snake IO, but where you level up and gain new abilities, where your snake is chomping motherfuckers or spewing out flames. That's fun, is it not? Imagine being the guy that's still alive after hours of playing Snake IO. With more inspiration, more insight, and more development, I can see the future for easy to play games. After all, who doesn't enjoy turning their brain off for a moment of horde slaying bliss? While the number one threat in the genre is dodging enemies and dodging pixels frame by frame, that threat can evolve. Story elements could make way, and a AAA developer could totally put this all together and line their pockets. I really enjoyed my time in the genre and hope after seeing this, some of you do too. There are devs building this genre, bringing fresh ideas to the table every day, and they deserve some respect too, especially Punkle. In the end, we have new ideas and ease of access that make gaming a thing for everyone to enjoy. I could imagine teaching my dad how to play this game, and he's like 70 years old. He could enjoy it. I'm sure he would enjoy it, and that's something to be proud of. This is just the beginning for the survivor-like genre, and I hope to see it catch wings like many other independent genres have. That's all from me, rickOshay. Game on, gamers, and I hope to see you in the future.